important. And may I ask the Honorable Ilagat to continue with her question.
Mr. Chair, I hope this will not require an executive session because this is an information that was already revealed earlier. That the General Pangilinan, Mr. Chair, was mentioned to have been in the scene, in the area. But there was an American who ordered General Pangilinan to fire artillery. But then General Pangilinan said, no, I am in charge. Is that right, Mr. General Pangilinan? And then, would you know the identity of this American personnel?
Yes, the General Pangilinan, if you could answer the question, please.
Yes, Your Honor, and as to identity, I do not know, Your Honor.
Come again, General.
Yes, someone told me to fire the artillery and no to the knowledge of his identity nor his nationality, Your Honors.
Mr. Chair, the General does not know the nationality of this person who was beside him?
Yes, Your Honor, I do not know because that is not my operation. At the same time, I was not the one who brought whoever was the person to that operation, Your Honor.
Could the General describe the person if he cannot give the name?
A Caucasian-looking guy, Your Honor, in civilian uniforms, Your Honor. Civilian attire, Your Honor.
Caucasian-looking person in a civilian uniform.
Civilian
in the midst
attire,
of a military
Your Honor.
operation.
Civilian attire, Your Honor.
I just repeat, Caucasian-looking military operation but in civilian attire, right?
I am not talking about military operations, Your Honor, because that is not my operations, Your Honor.
We will not quibble on that, but you were in the area and you were about to give orders regarding the firing of the artillery.
Again, Your Honor, I would like to be clarified that that operations was a PNP operation, sub-operations. It so happened that my men were involved, so I went to the tactical command post of my brigade. Then under Colonel Del Rosario, Your Honors.
It's confusing to a layperson, General. Tactical command post, you were there. There were other people belonging to the SAF, and yet you don't consider it a military operation.
Ma'am, I'm telling about the operations of the PNP SAF. The operations that you are telling, that referring to the Caucasian-looking guy, that's not my operations, Your Honor. The one that I am referring to, the military operations, is the conduct of rescue and reinforcement. That's the operations that the military were conducting during that day, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, could we take a look at the map that was earlier being flaunted by General Napeñas?
Is that the PNP map or the Google map that Congressman Del Rosario is saying?
Hindi po Google Map ito.
Okay.
Similar po
Colonel
lang,
Del
military.
Rosario.
Meron din siya yung grid references, yung square. Enhanced na mapa po ito. Up to the nearest 1 meter.
Okay.
Yung pong nakita ko is mas malaki po dyan na mapa. Different from that one, sir.
Your Honor, may request Superintendent Mangahis kasi siya po yung nag-present ng mapa na ito. Please confirm kung ito nga yung mapa ang pinakita mo kay Colonel De Rosario, Superintendent Mangahis.
Sir, the same map po.
Is that the map? The actual map? Yan yung actual map?
Pwede pong mapalapit sa akin yung mapa? Kasi po malayo po ng konti.
Pwede pakilapit lang sa
Yung mapa po na ito
Colonel
taken
Rosario.
just 2 weeks ago before the operation, Your Honor. Yung Google, luman-luma po, Your Honor. Ito, 2 weeks before the operation namin ito na nakuha.
Ayan. So, 2 weeks before the operation, yan na po yung mapa na pinakita. Saan po ninyo nakuha yung mapang yan?
Kinuha po natin doon sa sa US counterpart, Your Honor.
Your Honor, yung pong pinakita sa akin na mapa doon sa Brigade Headquarters po is, I believe it's different from that one, sir.
Order, please. Order. Please. So, minute suspension. Can we please observe silence
Okay,
so
Mr.
that
Chair.
we can continue with the hearing? And with regards to the maps that was shown by the staff, let's not debate on that whether it is the one that was shown to the AFP or but just let
Yeah.
us just deal with the facts. And please, the Honorable Ilagan, if you could please continue with the questions.
Yes, Mr. Chair, but I think the maps are very
Order,
important.
please.
The maps are very important, Mr. Chair, because apparently they do not agree on which map was shown. And also, it has been admitted by General Napeñas that the maps came from their U.S. counterparts. So how did he receive it? Was it voluntarily given or did he ask for those maps?
If the General please answer the question of the Honorable Congresswoman Ilagan with regards to the map.
Your Honor, pwede po bang malaman ulit yung question kasi
Okay.
hindi ko po narinig,
Opo,
Your Honor.
sinabi po ninyo na yung mapa ay galing po sa US counterparts. Yun po ba ay hiningi ninyo or voluntarily binigay ng mga US counterparts?
Ni-request po namin yan, Your Honor. Ni-request po namin. On top of that na mapa, Your Honor, meron pa kaming kinuha. Yung mga photo, aerial photo ng Air Force. At pinagdugtong-dugtong namin yon na parang mosaic para makita namin yung area talaga. At nandoon po doon sa PowerPoint presentation kung paano pinagtyagaan na pinagdugtong-dugtong at kitang-kita na po yung lugar din. Mas accurate nga lang po ito, Your Honor, pero accurate na rin yon. Kinuha pa namin sa Air Force yon para makita talaga yung lugar, Your Honor.
Pag sinabi niyo pong Air Force, you're referring to the Philippine Air Force.
Yes, Your Honor.
High-tech na po tayo ngayon. Nagdudugtong-dugtong pa kayo ng mapa hanggang ngayon, Director
Ay,
Napeñas.
talaga pong ganun yun kasi pagkuha ng eroplano, yung isang pass, kukunan ng camera po yun. Yung second pass, ibang plate na naman ng ganun. Yung kalsada o yung dadaanan, paikot-ikot-ikot na ganun. Kaya pagdudugtong-dugtungin mo para sa
One
ganun.
last question po, Congresswoman.
Maklaro.
Okay, I have pictures here, Mr. Chair, kasi pumunta po ako sa Mamasapano a few days after the incident. May mga tao po Pagkatapos, katulad nito, mga tao nga tumatawid pa dun sa tulay, naghahakot ng mais. Ito po, mga tao naglalakad. Ibig sabihin, meron talagang communities doon, malapit sa pinangyarihan. At merong isang babae na namatayan ng asawa. At ang katawan naman ng taong yon, na kanyang asawa, ay nakita nakagapos kasama yung mga staff. Hindi ko na po yun masasagot, basta't nandun yun. May isang bata rin pong namatay, isang special child, at ang kanyang mga magulang ay natamaan din. Ibig sabihin, malapit sila doon sa pinangyarihan. Ito po ay litrato ng mga bahay, no, na across the highway where the rest of the staff were staying, no? And tinamaan po ang kanilang mga bahay. Ito po yung sample ng bala na, o whatever, na napulot pa. At ito yung bahay nga, na malaki po yung butas. Pero ito po ay sa community. Hindi po dun sa site kung saan sinasabi yung hostile forces were present. Kaya isang tanong na lang din po, katulad nito, bahay, tinamaan. Kaya, how do you explain this, Director Napeñas?
Sana po malaman natin, Your Honor, kung kanino galing yung bala na tumama dyan sa bahay na yan. Dahil yung tanghali na yon, di yung drop off point na sinasabi nyo along the highway, it came under heavy attack din ng mga armadong grupo. In fact, yung gulong ng isang armored personnel carrier ng tatlong armored personnel carrier ng Army, tinamaan at nabutas. Hindi lang po malaman kung kaninong galing, pero definitely yung atake na papunta doon sa lugar ng Army at saka yung SAF along the highway nang galing po doon sa lugar ng mga armado na MILF or BIFF, Your Honor. Kaya maganda kung malaman natin talaga sa investigasyon kung kaninong galing bala ang tumama dyan sa mga bahay na yan, kasama na rin yung mga civilian na sinasabi nyo, Your Honor. Nais kong idagdag yung picture na ipinakita nyo, yung tulay. Sa madaling araw po, yung kuha ng picture yung araw, sa madaling araw na nag-umpisa ng enkwentro doon, yung alas 5 pasado, ang sinasabi ng ating kasamahan na nag-render ng report hanggang nag-umaga, wala nang mga civilian doon. At I would agree, pag nagbakbakan, una pa siguro kakaripas ng takbo yung mga civilian, Your Honor.
Thank you, General
Mr.
Napeñas.
Chair, just one question.
You
allowed
already-
it.
Please, one last question, Madam.
Pagpunta ko po doon, tinanong ko yung mga nakatira sa tabi ng highway. At sila po ay may tanong din. Ang kanilang mga tindahan ay naransak, mga bibi, mga pato ay nawala rin po. Merong namatay din, mga civilian. Ano po ang isasagot natin dito sa naging collateral damage doon sa bakbakan?
Sana po nga magandang maimbestigan ng maayos yan, Your Honor. Kasi yung SAP po, kahit kailan hindi kami nangunguha ng maski anong pag-aari ng civilian sa pag nag-ooperasyon kami. Yan ang hindi pwedeng gawin. Kaya ang masasabi ko po, Your Honor, sana po maimbestigan natin na mabuti para sa ganon malaman po ang katotohanan yung sa inaakusan nyo na ginawa ng aming kasamahan na membro ng SAP troopers.
Kung ganon, mabuti
Next,
rin po pakinggan natin yung mga civilian at yung mga kamag-anak. Anong po?
Thank you, Congresswoman Nilagan. The next to ask question is the Honorable Congressman Ako.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My first question would be directed to General Katapang and General Guerrero, including General Pangilinan. When did you first come to know about operations against Marwan and Basit Usman?
On my part, Your Honor, it was only when I became the Chief of Staff that I came to know about Marwan.
The question is when?
July 2014, Your Honor.
General Guerrero.
The first instance that there would have been a joint operations between the AFP and PNP was the April 2014 operations in Maguindanao, Your Honor.
And General Pangilinan.
As far as I can recall, Your Honor, the armed forces, the 6ID operations on Marwan, I learned only when I became the division commander of 6ID sometime May of 2014.
And May 2014.
Yes, Your Honor.
General Purisima, when was your suspension effective?
Your Honor, my suspension was issued on December 4, 2014.
And therefore, all the authorities of your office have ceased by that time.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. On December 18, you were in a meeting with the top process, the three generals of the armed forces of the Philippines that I mentioned. Is that correct? Together with Police Director Napeñas.
Yes, Your Honor. I facilitated the meeting between Police Director Napeñas and the officers of the Armed Forces of the Philippines.
I confirm that, Your Honor. In fact, the place is at the Officers Club in Camp Aguinaldo, Quezon City.
And the Armed Forces Generals, do you confirm that? That you met on December 18?
Mr. Chair, Your Honor, yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
And all of you pledged support to the operations against Marwan and Basit Osman. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. With the indulgence of the Secretary of the DILG, he has answered this question. But I would like to get it from the horse's mouth. What exactly were the directives of the President when you met with him in January 9 of 2015?
I was not in that meeting, Your Honor. January 9. I see. I was not in that meeting, Your Honor, Mr. Chairman. The President subsequently told me his recollection of that meeting. Legally, it would be referred to as hearsay, but as I have no reason to doubt the President, I just repeated it for the information of all. My understanding is at that meeting, the President, that meeting which was attended by General Purisima, General Napeñas, now General Mendez of the intelligence group of the PNP, at that meeting, the President recalled to me or recounted to me his recollection in which he said, sinabihan ko sila mag-coordinate sa AFP. Number one. Number two, naalala ko na kinwestiyon ko itong parang last minute, napaka last minute. Ang sinabi ko, dapat may koordinasyon para may sapat na panahon or sapat na oras na parang ma-operationalize kung ano man itong coordination na to. He gave an example of kung magko-coordinate ka, mangangailangan ka ng helicopter, kailangan may gasolina yung helicopter at hindi nagbakasyon yung piloto. It was in that nature na dapat there was sufficient material time. And lastly, he said, this was already after General Napeñas and General Mendez left. He recounted that he told General Purisima na sabihin mo kay Dindo ito. Siya ang OIC at kung ano man ang mangyari dito, siya ang sasalo nito. So, kailangan alam niya ito. Yun ang recollection sa akin ng Pangulo, to the best of my memory, Your Honor.
Yes, sir. Humihingi lang po ako ng dispensa. I just want to get the directives as received by the people who were present during that meeting on January 9. So, General Purisima, what were exactly the directives of the President to you?
Your Honor, the directive to during the briefing was to coordinate with the AFP. And after the briefing, Your Honor, when Police Director Napeñas and Police Senior Superintendent Mendez left the hall, we've been talking with the President, and he gave me, I'm confirming the order, the one mentioned by the Secretary, that he gave the order to me to inform Police Deputy Director General Espina about the operation.
General Peñas. Ano yung directive na natanggap mo? Because you were there with General Purisima and Police Senior Superintendent Mendez.
Your Honor, yung sabi po ni General Purisima, umalis na po kami. Naiwan po si General Purisima at saka si President po na dalawa.
Are you trying to tell this body that the orders to coordinate and to inform Police Deputy Director General Espina and the Secretary were given to General Purisima alone?
I'm sorry, Your Honor, hindi ko nakuha yung tinanong niyo sa akin. During the presentation, ako po nag-present doon sa yung Operation Plan Exodus, pati yung Concept Operation, at saka yung decision matrix at saka yung video presentation po sa rin nag-recon. Doon po nagko-comment si President tungkol sa coordination. At yung nga po ang sinagot ko, with all due respect, Mr. President, kung medyo compromise po yung AP doon sa preparation ng operations at saka nag-intermarriage na. Then nagko-comment nga siya, pati yung strength, nag-comment din po siya, Your Honor. At yung nga, ang recommendation po namin, sabi ko, sir, ang recommendation po namin, Your Honor, is yung time on target po, yung coordination doon sa AFP. Tapos paglabas nga po namin, nauna kaming lumabas, naiwan po nga si General Purisima yung sinabi niya. Paglabas niya, sinabihan kami, nandyan din, malapit din si then Senior Superintendent Mendez. Saka muna sabihan yung dalawa, ako nang bahala kay General Katapang. Yun po ang mga kataga na naibigay sa akin, Your Honor.
So it's clear that the order of the President not to inform the Secretary of the DILG and the OIC were given to General Purisima alone. Am I correct?
Your Honor, hindi ko po masasagot yon, pero as far as narinig ko, hindi po nasabi ni Presidente habang present po ako, Your Honor.
Si General Purisima ang sasagot dapat dito.
Your Honor, Mr. Chair, that comment was given because of the plan of PNP staff to inform everybody time and target.
General, hindi mo sinasagot yung tanong ko eh. Ang tanong ko, that directive to inform the OIC, PNP, and the Secretary of the DILG was given to you alone without the presence of Police Director Peñas and Police Senior Superintendent Mendez. Sa'yo lang binigay.
Yes, Your Honor, with regard to Police Deputy Director General Tapeñas, Espina.
Kasi yun po ang conclusion namin. Why? Because dito po nangyari sa January 9 yung nasabi ninyo na compromised ang Armed Forces of the Philippines. Tapos sinabi rin ni Presidente, tinanong kayo, wala na ba kayong tiwala sa Armed Forces of the Philippines? Di po ba? And when you mentioned time on target, he did not say anything. Kaya tuloy, ang nandito, the supposed silence of the President after he asked the three whether they have totally lost confidence in the Armed Forces of the Philippines, coupled with this directive for them to beef up the personnel to be deployed for Oplan Exodus, is an indication that he gave his acquiescence to the TOT concept espoused by Napeñas. Yun po ang nandun sa isip ni Director Napeñas. However, the statement of General Purisima that he will take care of coordinating with General Katapang can be taken as an indication that the President insisted on coordinating with the Armed Forces of the Philippines. Tama po siguro yun. Last 2 minutes. Anyway, I will shift to the Armed Forces of the Philippines. General Pangilinan, could you please give me the gist of the rules of deployment of your howitzers?
Sir, that is an operational, and currently, Your Honor, I'm still having my operations in the area. I can give you that. The deployment of the artillery in executive session, Your Honor.
This is not supposed to be known. This is supposed to be known to everybody. Rules of engagement in fire support operations. Could you please give me the gist of this? para makita natin kung tama po yung actions ninyo.
Your Honor, I have, if you will allow, we have an expert on this, the regiment commander of the field artillery, who could enlighten everyone on the how and the rules of employment of the artillery. Your
If you
Honors.
can explain to us, to this body, the standing operating procedure number 04 of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, Army Artillery Regiment of the Philippine Army, dated 8 April 2008, which I think was not yet amended by a current SOP. So could you please inform this body how you deploy your howitzers 105 and 155?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. I am the regiment commander of the Army at the regiment. My regiment has 8 FA battalions. 1 battalion is deployed in support to units in Luzon. 1 battalion is deployed in support to units in Visayas. And 6 FA battalions are deployed in Mindanao, 2 of which are in central Mindanao, Your Honor. And for the infantry divisions in Mindanao, they have 1 dedicated FA battalion.
Let's go direct to the point. How are these deployed? And it is governed by your SOP number 4. How?
Each brigade has a direct support battery, 1 battery, Your Honor. And it's up to the brigade commander where to emplace these howitzers.
Mr. Chair, naubusan na po ako ng oras eh. Saka ko na lang siya tatanungin.
Yes, Your Honor. Can I?
No, thank you. Kasi wala na po akong oras. I'm sorry. Meron pa akong isang importanteng gustong malaman dahil napakahirap pong gumawa ng report after 2 bodies have submitted the report. Di po ba? Yung committees po namin ang magagawa ng report. So, napakahirap po kung hindi namin po malaman yung mga data. We cannot come up with a good report. Maybe better than the 2 reports given by the 2 bodies kung hindi namin malaman ang data. Now, ang last question ko po, kasi kung nandito po yung MILF, tatanungin ko po sana kung lack of coordination is a reason to kill people. And for the Armed Forces of the Philippines, yung lack of coordination po ba is a reason for you not to help comrades in arms to be safe? Yun po ang aking katanungan dahil even in your SOP number 4, this provision pertains to the 6 ID. And I would like to quote, within the 6 ID AOR, because of the government policy of giving priority to the peace process with the secessionist insurgents, the level at which authority for the conduct of fire missions are given shall be the commanding general himself through his assistant chief of staff for operations J3. That is why Colonel De Rosario requested the 6 ID commander for him to fire artillery support. Yun po ang dahilan. But if you look at this, para bang yung peace process ang nag-hold sa inyong mga kamay para tulungan yung 44 o yung 36 na nandun. You know, you did that in helping the 84th SAF. You did not know anything about their positions. You know, and as the good secretary has stated, bakit hindi nyo na lang i-fire na sa position yung white phosphorus? Mag-take life na lang tayo na masunog yung mga nandun na tao, pero buhay naman. Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Your Honor, may I react, Your Honor? Your Honor, may I react?
If
I think
Good
we need
General.
to have this straightened up na parang ang nangyayari po dito, we did not react, we did not help the beleaguered SAF. Wala pong katotohanan yan. Nadinig nyo naman po yung statement kanina ni Colonel De Rosario. He was the brigade commander and as early as 08:20 after he was briefed by the SAF, the deputy of the director, nakapagplano na po tayo, nakapagpadala na po tayo ng tropa. Now, sinasabi po natin, we are blaming the artillery. Why was it not fired in the morning? Why was it fired in the afternoon? Malaking-malaki po ang pagkakaiba ng situation in the morning and the situation in the afternoon. Nung morning po, wala po kaming picture, wala kaming idea on what was going on the ground. In the afternoon, iba na po. We have the information coming in. Alam na namin kung nasaan yung mga tropa, kahit pichi-pichi pong nabibigay sa amin. Pichi-piching nabibigay sa amin yung information. Yun po ang pagkakaiba. Nung umaga, we are blind. But in the afternoon, we have somewhat a clearer picture of what is going on. In the morning, wala pong forward observer. At kung maririnig nyo lamang po yung explanation ng ating field artillery, they are not supposed to fire blind. Yan po ang isa sa standing operating procedure ng ating pong artillery, Your Honors.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. May be allowed one last question and comment. Under your SOP, you're given a prerogative. There's a provision in your prerogative, in your SOP, that you are given the sole prerogative to fire artillery support. It is there. And you did not exercise that. Number two,
So one question.
yes.
One question.
No. I didn't ask the question.
Okay.
This is part of the question. After your meeting with General Talino and Mangahis, you said, this is for Colonel De Rosario, you sent us an SMS message to your boss. Tama? Nagsasabi na kayo ng iba yung sinasabi ng PNP. Now, could you please submit your cell phone for forensic exams so that we can find out whether what you're saying is the truth or not?
Kindly answer the question.
Sir, during
What is no problem? Mr. Chairman, let me be placed on record that the cell phone of Colonel Del Rosario will be submitted for forensic exams. And if I may request the cell phone exam, the cell phones of General Guerrero, the 45th IB Commander, and General Pagiledan be submitted for forensic exams if they are willing. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Your Honor,
The request.
we already submitted the transcript of our cell phone exchanges.
Yung transcript po, nababago yan. Hindi po ako galing sa kung anumang na organisasyon Nanggaling din ako dyan. So I want to find out kung sino talaga nagsasabi ng totoo. Dahil dito pala, hindi na nagkakauma yung sinasabi ninyo
Sir.
Lack of, if you could please the mention persons, could you please comply with the that those cell phones that are being mentioned to be submitted to this committee. Thank you. Next to interpolate is the Honorable Congressman Biazon.
Marami pong salamat, Mr. Chairman. Maliwanag na lumilitaw dito, 4 ang instructions ng Presidente noong January 9. If anybody will contest this, we would like to know if anybody is contesting these statements. 1, yung unang instructions, coordinate with the armed forces. For obvious reasons, para makapag-prepare, kung kailangan ninyo sila, ang armed forces makakapag-prepare, makakapagplano in details. Second, coordinate with sufficient time. Exactly for the same reason. To give the armed forces time to prepare and plan. Third, instructions. Inform General Espina. Alright? And the four instructions is actually suggestion. Ang sabi niya, ni Presidente, baka kulang yung 160 na SAF. At ano nangyari? Nag-deploy ng 392. So my first question is this. Why were the first three instructions disobeyed? Because if they were obeyed and the army was able to prepare in detail, plan in detail, baka ho yung 44 na yon hindi namatay. Kasi ang issue natin dito, kaya lumaki ito, dahil maraming namatay na SAF. Siguro kung isa lang namatay doon, hindi lalaki na ganito itong usapan na ito eh. So my question, were those three instructions of the President disobeyed? Mr. Secretary Rojas, can you answer that?
Sir, to my mind, they were disobeyed.
They were disobeyed. So here,
if I may continue my
yes,
answer.
please.
Thank you. The President was very clear that there ought to be timely, effective coordination with the AFP, and this was not followed. The President was also very clear that at the very least, OIC Espina ought to be informed.
yes.
And this also was not done, Mr. Chairman, Your Honor.